Hi everybody, my name is Sarah Lean and I'm a Senior Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. In this video, I want to talk to you about my career in IT, what an IT department looks like, and actually what it's like to work for Microsoft. So let's dive in and answer some of those questions. So within an IT department, you'll have different teams or different people who specialise in different areas of IT. So let me walk you through what an IT department has looked like while I've been in the IT industry. You'll often have your technical resources in your support team, and they'll be dedicated to helping end users fix their faults. So if someone has a password that they can't get into, so they need their password reset, if they've maybe got a paper jam within their printer, if they've got a problem with their keyboard, they might have spilt their lunch or their breakfast all over the keyboard and it's no longer working, support team can help look after that. If they have something more critical, like their laptop isn't working, their tablet isn't working, they can't get emails connecting on one of those devices, those kind of faults will be dedicated to the support team. They will be involved in logging that fault, resolving that fault, and then any follow-up action. If it's a broken keyboard, they might have to cross-charge that across to the department or the person in order to get that replaced. Things like that are around the support team activities. You might also have a team that's dedicated to new requests. So if something has to be upgraded, if a system has come to the end of its life and you need to look at replacing it, you might have a dedicated support team that look after that introduce new software, redesign architecture within the IT department, might even look at procuring new laptops for new starters to the organisation. But yeah, generally the project teams will look at some of those things that are non-business business as usual activities, not the things that are planned and are not ad hoc. You might also have a team that's dedicated for your networking and telephony. So there's lots of things happening in the background that look after your IT and make it all interconnected. So making sure that the Wi-Fi works, or the Ethernet cables, the hardwired cables that go into your laptops and PCs. Also phones, lots of people still have desk phones in order to communicate. Other things could be mobile phones. And I've found departments that are dedicated to looking after all of that communication and connectivity as well. You might also find a department or a team that's dedicated to development, so making bespoke software for your organisation, because you can't find something off the shelf that actually fits your needs, or even you've taken an off the shelf product and then trying to change it a little so that it meets your organisation's needs. So you might have a team of developers as well. Other departments that I've worked in have also had dedicated teams that look after databases. They look after all of the data that an organisation collects, make sure that it's stored correctly, make sure it's backed up correctly, and make sure that it's able to be analysed. So being able to crunch all that data and then give out a report for the sales team or the marketing team in order to understand whether their sales campaign or their marketing campaign has worked appropriately or hasn't worked as well. So you might have a team of database engineers or data analysts as well within your organisation. And let's not forget that support staff that also is embedded into an IT department. The people who make sure our timesheets are filled in or help us with our timesheets, make sure that our expenses are processed, make sure that our purchase orders for new hardware, new software, for new equipment is all processed as well. The administration team in an IT department is also a crucial part of the organisation. You'll often hear terms such as on-premise or cloud, or on-prem versus cloud when people talk about IT. Now, quickly going over what that means, on-prem or on-premises is about having all of your data center, all of your servers housed in a building that you own or you lease. So having racks and racks of servers, like things you've maybe seen in the movies that they use, and having that right beside you, either in a building, where your staff are housed, or maybe in a leased building somewhere close to your offices. Using the cloud is basically using someone else's data center. So Microsoft have a cloud offering called Microsoft Azure, and that's basically large data centers with large amounts of servers and technology available to you to use, and you can lease that from us and you can pay for that in different ways. So on-prem is solutions that are housed within a building you own or a building that you maybe lease from another company, and in the cloud is basically utilizing a data center providers IT equipment, and you don't tend to get to see that. So on-prem, you can go and touch it, you can go and press the buttons, you can go and interact it, you can put stickers on it to help you identify what the servers are. When you go to the cloud, you don't get access to that level of hardware. You can interact with it through internet browsers, through GUIs, through scripting, various different methods, but you don't get to actually go and see it. You don't get to control the hardware. You don't get to control the stickers that are put on it to identify it. So hopefully that helps you clear up a little bit of those phrases that you might hear. So I want to talk about the two types of job role, or the two types of people you often hear mentioned when you think about IT. And that's your operations people and your developers. Now, I'm firmly in that operations side of IT. I love everything to do with the infrastructure, the networking, the security, the device management, and even the people that you interact with in terms of the operations. Now, the operations team are the team that look after the support of things going wrong within an IT department. They look after new requests for infrastructure, for hardware, for networking, for telephony, all of that kind of stuff. So over my career, I've been involved in setting up devices for people. So that's setting up their new laptop, setting up their new PCs, replacing people's keyboards and mice, involved in moving desks. So if an organisation is looking to rejig what their office looks like and have everybody shuffle desks, I've been involved in projects like that. I've been involved in projects of setting up new offices when an organisation either relocates or expands into a new office. I've been involved in helping to set up all of that, making sure that there's networking points in the right place, make sure that the Wi-Fi works in the right place and is strong for people to use that. I've also been involved in building data centres, so installing servers, installing the power, installing the cooling, looking after everything that goes with running a data centre. I've also looked after phones, so I put in new telephony for an organisation. So instead of the old analog phones, we changed the phones over to everything that ran over networking. So they were called voice over IP phones, and we changed all of that. So there's lots of different projects involved in the infrastructure side of things, and I love also the fact that you get to interact with a lot of people. So on the operations side of things, you are dealing with people as well as technology, and that's where your customer service skills will come really into play within the IT operations side of things. You have to relate what you're doing, how you're doing it, and potentially how to solve these issues in non-IT language and non-technical language to your end users, so that they understand either how to do something that they're struggling with or why something works the way that it does. So yeah, I have been fully immersed in the IT operations side of things, and I don't think I would regret or want to change any of that I've been involved in my career. Now, the developer side is something that I wasn't interested in when I had it as a subject at university. So a developer is someone that sits and codes, so writes software, writes applications, it could be a website developer as well. There's lots of different arms to being a developer. Like I said, I'm not interested in sitting all day and looking at those lines of code and trying to figure out the problem solving of writing an application, but they're critical to the IT industry. You have people like game developers, so who make your game consoles. You've also got people who develop the operating systems, so things like Windows 10. There's a team of developers that develop all of that and write all of that code, and without all of that I probably wouldn't be able to do my job, because obviously dealing with the operating systems is a large part of my job as well, and making sure people know how to use them. So the IT operations team and the developers have to work in harmony and have to find a way of interacting with each other and communicating with each other, and just making sure that everything works coherently together. So Although they're very different in terms of what they deliver for the IT department or for the organisation, they are both critical and they need to go hand in hand within an IT organisation. I kind of decided late on that I wanted to be in IT and I wanted to be an IT professional for my career. I was on the track to become a teacher. I was studying at high school, dedicated to the subjects that I needed to go into university to become a teacher. And late on, about probably the end of fourth year, end of fifth year, or beginning of fifth year, I decided that I actually wanted to go into IT as a career. And I had to scramble for my 6th year at high school in order to change my subjects and go to university to do IT. But I was very grateful for the support that people gave me, the teachers, in order to crash some of the higher subjects that I needed in order to get into university. And I went to university and got my Bachelor of Technology in Computing Science as well. So I went down that academic route, but it's not something that you necessarily need to go down. Once I had finished my degree at university, I embarked on a first level support role within IT. And that's where I really learned my trade as such. I learned how to communicate with people when I couldn't see them, when I couldn't see their computer system. I was fixing the faults, so I was trying to understand the problems that they had, resetting their passwords, trying to, order a new keyboard for them and things like that. And yes, I have had those phone calls where people have phoned me up and said, my monitor isn't working. And after a few questions, what they actually were telling me was that the power was out in their building. So there's been weird and wacky phone calls that I've taken and faults when I worked on the first level help desk within the IT organisation. After a few years of doing that, I moved up into the second level support roles, and that's where I wasn't on the help desk phones, but I was actually going out to people. So any of the faults that the first level help desk couldn't fix, I would then take on, and I would potentially go out and visit that person and fix that issue. So for example, if a printer was jammed, I would go out and then try and find that jam. And if I couldn't find the jam or couldn't fix it, I would then log the fault with the hardware vendor and get them to come out and look at it. And printers were always my nemesis. I always got printer faults when I was wearing a white t-shirt or a white shirt, and 9 times out of 10 those printer toners would explode and completely ruin my shirt, and I'd have to be walking around with toner on me all day. So yeah, those are memorable stories, and I have tons more stories of things that I've did when I've been supporting people as well. What this IT support role actually taught me was the customer service element of IT. It's not just all about technology. Yes, there's a large portion of it where you need to know how to fix technology, you need to know how to solve problems, and you need to know how things all work. But customer service is a massive part of it as well. You're dealing with people who aren't technology advanced, they don't know the same things that you do, and they need to use this technology in order to do their job. And it's your job to try and make it as seamless and easy for them as well. So trying to calm someone down when something breaks close to their deadline and is going to affect their deadline, maybe dealing with the CEO of the company, the person that owns the company as well, and trying to fix their IT problems. You get the full spectrum of people, and I love that element as well. So you get to speak to people outside of your own department and who do different jobs than you as well, so you can learn from them. And often when I went out to speak to people, I interviewed them and find out what their job is, how IT helps them, and just got to know a lot of people. And that way as well, you build up that trust, you build up that rapport with the people within your IT organisation or your organisation as a whole. And you get that great relationship, so that if you need a favour from them to help you with some kind of IT project, then you have that ability because you've been trading favours and you have that relationship as well. Now, after spending a few years in the support teams, I moved over to projects, and I moved over to designing the architecture for the IT systems. So lots of projects and lots of upgrades and new systems being put in. And I took all the experience I had from that support role and put it into designing those solutions. And it was challenging doing all of that. It was very stressful because what you're designing is ultimately what everybody's going to be using. So if you underspec it. So don't give it enough CPU, don't give it enough processing power, enough memory, enough hard disk space, then potentially everyone's going to be shouting and there's going to be lots of phone calls coming into your help desk. So there's lots of responsibility in the architecting and the consulting side of IT, but it's ultimately very cool for you to design something that then is implemented and then you see everybody in your organisation using. So definitely something that I think I would not have been able to do straight out of university. I think you have to kind of go through that apprenticeship, so you have to work your way up. You have to spend some time on the help desk resetting passwords and doing all those mundane things within IT, you know, building up your rapport with customers, getting to know all the departments and the stakeholders within your business before you can actually start to architect and design solutions. Now, after a few years doing those designs and consultancy, I got the chance to actually interview for Microsoft, and that was a dream come true. And I still remember the day I walked through the doors to interview at our headquarters in the UK. I never imagined I would get the job role, but I did, and I was actually architecting and consulting for large scale customers, and I mean massive scale customers, household names that you'll have products of theirs within your home, and helping them design their IT solutions, and not just designing IT solutions on Prem, but also looking at the cloud offerings as well. So yeah, that is a massive thing for me, and being able to work for Microsoft was just, like I said, a dream come true. My role at Microsoft right now is as a senior cloud advocate. And my role is to help our customers understand how to use our technologies and how to actually implement those technologies within their organisations. So I have various different ways of doing that. I can write blog posts, I can write documentation that goes on our official documentation. I can spend time on social media platforms, interacting with people's questions, answering their questions and dealing with their queries that way. I get to go to conferences and user group events. So I have been to various different places in the world speaking to groups. So standing on a stage and talking to hundreds of people about some of our technologies as well. I also do things like this, creating videos and talking to people about what our technology can do at Microsoft and how they can use it as well. That's one of the great things about this job. I can do it in various different ways and I get to travel the world as well often. So like I said, I've been to various different places around the world and speaking in front of people on stages. So I've been to South Africa, I've been to Florida, I've been to places within Europe doing all of that. And it gives me a great chance to explore technology and also to meet new people and see new places. Working for Microsoft is a dream come true for me. Once I decided that I wanted to go into IT as a career, I wanted to aim high and I wanted to work for Microsoft. And like I said, it's a dream come true, and I pinch myself every day thinking that I work for this amazing company, and they are an amazing company. They've enabled me to work from home, so instead of having to go into an office, I get to work at home and build my work-life balance around my schedule. So Microsoft has supported me in providing me with the right equipment to work at home and make sure I have, the right posture when I'm sitting at my desk, and I also am productive. So I've got an external keyboard, an external mouse, an external monitor, and I can attach that all to my laptop so as that like I said, I have the right posture when I'm sitting at my desk. I also have the chance to change my working hours. So instead of working that traditional 9 to 5, I can switch them around. So I can work early if I need to finish early to go and, maybe have go to an exercise class or catch my friends and family for some dinner. Or I can work later. So I can start the day early later. So again, I can go maybe to an exercise class first thing in the morning and then start my routine. And often I have to be flexible with my working hours as well. Because my team is global, I have people based in Seattle, I have people based in Sydney in Australia, so the time zones don't match up. So often I have to work a little later in order to catch the people in Seattle in America because they are 8 hours behind Scotland. And sometimes I have to have early early meetings in order to catch up with the people based in Australia because they're ahead of me in Scotland. So I have to be flexible, and Microsoft allow me to be flexible as well. I can work anywhere. Although I have a great setup in my home office, I can often, go away to a cafe or a local restaurant and just get a different setup if I need to be productive in another place. And again, when I'm traveling, I have all the right equipment in order to be still productive when I'm traveling in airport lounges or working on a train as well. The other things that Microsoft support me doing is supporting things like this. They are a massive STEM ambassador. They are incredibly supportive and enabling me to help encourage the next generation and support the next generation coming through and potentially and hopefully going into a career in IT as well. Microsoft obviously has offices all around the world, and again, I have the flexibility within my job role to potentially move and relocate to another area. So if I wanted to, I could potentially move to Seattle and work from there if that was something that I wanted to do, and Microsoft would help me support moving as well. So there's lots of opportunities within Microsoft, and like I said, it's a great company to work for, and they are massively supportive of what I want to do and my career journey as well. So I went down the route of going to university in order to pursue my career in IT. However, it's not necessary to go to university to follow a career in IT. I work with some amazing people at Microsoft, and I've worked with amazing people at other companies who haven't went to university. They left school early and they went off and did an IT apprenticeship. So instead of going to university to learn how to do IT, they learned on the job. So they did IT as their job, and they've just built up their knowledge and experience of hands-on experience. So there are other routes than the university route, so please do look out for apprenticeships, speak to your career guidance, people around how to follow that if you don't want to go to university, because it isn't needed in certain cases. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully it's been useful for you and it's inspired you to follow in my footsteps in a career in IT. I'm happy to do any live Q&As with you. If you want to do that, please do reach out to me and we can arrange that. But thank you again for tuning in, and I'll hopefully see you at an IT event soon.